Is this silence deafening enough for you? No? Okay, that's good. That is great. We are going to get things started here. I was just telling Chat TM about how I can pin how I see how I can pin comments. I was on the verge of doing that, and I don't think I will because I'm lazy. So I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream, where I am going to talk too much. Way too much. And then edit this down to a definitely not digestible video. Who's gonna watch an hour-long video? I won't. Nah, I would. Who am I kidding? That's why I don't care. That's why I put hour-long videos on YouTube. Yeah, with that out of the way, we're gonna dive right in. We're gonna dive in and swim, sploosh, paddle, paddle, paddle. That's us. We're at the beach. Hey. Hope you brought sunscreen. Hope you brought snacks. What else would somebody bring to the beach? Hope you brought a towel. Hope you brought an umbrella. Hope you brought a good attitude. Yeah, we're gonna dive in here. On that note, on the note of me clearing my throat, I'm still a little sick. I have a cough. I took some medicine. Hopefully it isn't annoying, but can't do much about it. On another point, this is going to be a chronological examination this week. There's no big points to discuss. So if you want to follow along with the book, you can follow along. The points here line up with the book, with the chapters. That's just how I did it. So there's no big points to get rid of, to tackle right away. If you've read the book, I'm going to make an effort to refresh people's memory as we go along, so that the notes kind of make sense. I realized last week I was kind of just rambling about which parts and where, but I'm going to try and go along this week and figure out what's what. With that, we've got 2 chapters to get through, so let's dive right in. Let's get going. The first thing I have here is the boat's just gone, which doesn't make much sense, and that's okay. We start out the chapter here with our POV character stepping out of the ship that they've been on. They have a little look around, they grab their quote-unquote belongings, and they get out of the boat. And pretty much right away, the boat's just gone. Yeah, hence the note. I think that's really funny. I love it. When I was rereading this, I totally forgot. I was just like, yeah, no, the boat's gone. It's out of here. We don't need it. I think that's fine for the boat to disappear, but I think Teal's reaction is kind of lackluster. I think a better reaction from Teal would be more in character and more fun. There's also a little bit of a lack of beauty, I guess. I make no attempt to describe the surreal quality of the surroundings. So that's something that needs to be added here in this first part. What else? The pacing, right? So the pacing throughout this whole first part, pretty much from where, just this page here, from where Teal gets out of the boat to where Teal runs into the vagrant. Very staccato, very 1, 2, 3, 4. There's not a flow. There's not a melody. Every beat just hits its note. And I don't like that. So draft 2 really needs to flow better between points here, especially in part 1 where I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm kind of just vomiting what's in my mind onto paper. But that's why we do second drafts, so that we can address these things. I use the word they a lot, which is okay. That's not allowed, but I think it's too much. I know what I was doing at the time. I was finding it very challenging to talk about the POV character before they had introduced themselves. And that's definitely something I want to keep doing. I want to basically maintain the mystique of the POV character until they introduce themselves. It is not a fact known to the reader, because in my mind that doesn't make sense, and that's kind of cheating. Why would the reader get to know who the amnesiac is before they kind of figure out who they are? That's a little silly. So I definitely want to keep that idea of not using their name until they've used their name. And that's kind of a running theme that rolls forward into the rest of the book, is that we really don't, the book doesn't use a character's quote-unquote name until Teal kind of assigns a moniker to them, which as a running theme and sort of a weird characterization of Teal, I want to keep. So I'm just kind of chastising my here. Why am I not using the castaway? Why am I not using the word the amnesiac? Why am I not using more what's the word I use here? Colorful words. Why am I not using other colorful words and terminology to define the POV character in the abstract, in kind of this third person, this second person role? And you see I do a bit here, right? There's this line, thought the castaway. It's not completely they, but I think I need to make more of an effort to break up the monotony. And later in the chapter, I definitely have an aha moment where I go, I'm doing that too much, and I fix it. So, like, even then I was kind of conscious about it. There's a section here, right? Teal gets out the boat and starts walking. They start following along the path, and they have a bit of a memory, right? And they remember. It reminded them of a garden in the middle of spring, is how they describe this path, and that stuck out to me as being particularly, I wouldn't say egregious, but just kind of off the cuff, like, oh, they're already remembering things. They're already having these weird spontaneous memories, which I don't think is wrong, but I think it would be really startling, right? Teal would be walking along and being like, oh, why am I remembering that? That's kind of a funny thing. Where, like, which garden is this? I don't remember this garden. I don't remember these plants, but I've definitely seen them before, right? Wouldn't that be kind of startling? And I have written here that I think it just needs to be built up more. There is a section afterwards, after Teal has this very airy memory, that they're trying to rack their brain. Oh, where did this come from? Where did this memory come from? Which I think is good, but I think it just needs some more development. Maybe mention Teal recognizes the flowers. Teal kind of feels this wistfulness about the atmosphere itself that is drawing her into this conclusion of like, oh yeah, wait a minute, this kind of reminds me of some garden that I think I've seen before. And then dwelling on that a little, like, oh, wait a minute, I don't actually remember that. That's maybe not a great thing. Teal runs into the Vagrant. They don't literally, like they do other characters, but the Vagrant kind of catches them off guard, which is fine. That's definitely the vibe. The Vagrant would absolutely just like herald people as they walk by, as they get close, as they near. The fact they sort of spook Teal also works into Teal's character. She's dwelling on something. She doesn't really notice. She's caught up in her own mind a little too much. So the fact that the Vagrant kind of burst that bubble, that's fine. The pacing is just kind of bad, though. It's just too sudden, Sudden is fine. This really just comes out of nowhere. There needs to be a bit of a transition here where Teal's thinking, she's maybe approaching, she doesn't notice. I don't even think I really need to mention that she doesn't notice somebody's there, but there should be an illusion. It would be smoother to read that there should be an illusion that, like, oh, out from the brush came a raspy voice, something like that. Yeah, the Vagrant just comes out of nowhere. Much like the boat disappearing all of a sudden, the Vagrant appears all of a sudden, and neither really works. They both need better pacing, which is a point that comes up a lot. My pacing is just awful, and that's because I'm bad. But more on that later. If I'm not mistaken, we might have dropped some frames there, but we'll just ignore that. We'll ignore that. It's all fine. I really don't do any justice to the Vagrant. I hardly describe them. I kind of describe what they're doing and what they have on them, but I don't really talk about them, which I do a lot in the book, and that's intentional. But as far as characterization overall, it needs to be tweaked. It needs to be tuned, as I have written here, especially their pronunciation. There's definitely an idea here. There's a seed that was planted, but it wasn't nourished. I think their drawl, their kind of slur, needs to be accentuated. Because the Vagrant, right? The Vagrant, as the first individual that Teal meets, is meant to oppose her almost completely. They're not really even a foil. They are just almost so completely the opposite of what Teal is that because of their interaction, and they have this very cordial interaction, which is great. It shows that Teal, despite coming into odds with someone, can still approach things diplomatically, and we get more into that in chapter 3. But I think I just need to push that a little more, that the Vagrant is this sort of uncouth individual. They speak with this very provincial accent. Their words jumble together. They don't enunciate. They jump to assumptions, which we get to in a second here. And that contrasts with Teal, who immediately is just rigid. She's just hits the brakes, changes gears, and immediately slams on the gas into, I have to be a presentable individual here, don't I? So that's something I need to address. The Vagrant just needs to be more of a definite being. And hey, guess what? That keeps coming up too. It's almost like all of my problems are kind of the same thing. And the same thing being that I'm a little dumb. I'm going to take a sip of water. Yep. That's water. I love water. Let's see here. Let's keep trucking along. We're doing great. So Teal meets the Vagrant, and Teal has this moment of confusion where she's currently, right, in this current version, Teal has this moment where she's confused. She's thinking, why am I talking like this? And I don't think that's right. I don't think Teal would be thinking that. Teal would be coming to an acceptance. Teal wouldn't be thinking, why am I talking like this? Teal would be thinking, oh yeah, this is how I talk. Like, this is how I project to people that I don't really know. It's just natural for her. She wouldn't be blindsided by that. Even coming out of amnesia, she would be more reconciling with her personage. I think at the time of writing this, was the vibe. This was the amnesia vibe of anything that happens is just kind of confusing to Teal. But I think there's more nuance to Teal's situation than just it's much more deep than that. She's not just forgotten everything. She's also relearning who she is and how she functions. And the fact that her speech comes out as this incredibly formal projection is, I don't think, necessarily not confusing at all, but it would be smothered by more of the realization that, this is just how I should talk. This is just how I've always talked, which is cool. I also have, right, we get into some more issues on Teal speaking Elvish. Her introduction really needs to be reworked entirely. Teal would be caught off guard for a moment because she's unsure if she should introduce herself in Elvish, if she should be doing so in Common. I wonder. Yeah, we get to this point a little bit later. But she is her first utterances, right? Because she doesn't initially introduce herself until the Vagrant asks. The Vagrant kind of tests her, but she is kind of caught for a moment, and she has this. She should have this internal debate, like, oh, wait a minute, which language do I use? This guy is definitely talking in Common, so I should probably speak in Common. There's another little point here that I'm still unsure how I want to have Teal talk phonetically, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm using the right word there, but Teal is in a sense so formal that I'm wondering if maybe she even speaks an archaic form of cotton. Yeah, Teal, like me, speaks with cotton in her mouth. An archaic form of Common. And so in my mind, that would maybe be early modern English or old English or something. I think that might be going a bit too deep into it. I think maybe later on to exacerbate Elvish culture, not exacerbate, to present it in an interesting way. Perhaps when her father speaks common, it's old English, just to show like, yeah, that's how old this elf is, because in his mind, old English is still what common should be. Whereas, Teal, who's maybe developed in a different time, knows that like, oh no, if I'm speaking my highfalutin common, then okay, maybe it's early modern English. Maybe she speaks like she's in a Shakespearean play. And then when she's just vibing, when she's being normal, she speaks modern English. She's just, she's like me. She's like us. She's relatable, right? Haha. Just an idea. I don't really know if I want to implement it, but I think it would be funny if throughout most of this book, Teal's just speaking like a Shakespearean actor. A comment from chat is from moderator Robin, asking if this point also works with the previous point. Yeah, that would definitely be an aspect of it. Teal would have to wrestle with how she's talking. I think she would know pretty instinctively that, okay, well, this is a person. Obviously, she's not going to just blurt out, howdy, partner. Maybe she thinks about it, but, and maybe this could be a point of characterization where we run through the thought process with Teal. That's an interesting way to do it. I think that would take up maybe too much space, especially in this first part. But it would definitely be something she's thinking about, something that, it would be thoughts that don't take up space, when you consider things and they're in and out of your brain so quickly that it's not really a point of contention. But on that note, yeah, she might consider, no, I need to talk to this person. They're a stranger. They're not an elf. Like she would run through the checklist. Who is this person that I'm talking to? What's the situation I'm in? And we as people do it all the time. Am I at the grocery store? Am I talking to a stranger? You're going to talk differently. Are you working at the grocery store? You're going to talk differently. Do you meet your friend at the grocery store? You're going to talk differently. Do you meet your friend's parent at the grocery store? You're going to talk differently. And so that's kind of what she's running through. Okay, stranger, not human, not an elf, rather. Are they human? I don't know, right? I never say, and that's part of the fun here. Is Teal speaking Elvish here? No, so you can fill in that blank for yourself. Yeah, Teal, I need to figure out how she speaks common. I like how she does, right? She uses fancy words. She's very haughty in her speech, but I kind of want to take that up a notch. Maybe just have her speak early modern English, or even, maybe just reference some like Elizabethan, some Georgian era speech, like some Jane Eyre or some some like Dorian Gray era stuff. What's that other one? The one where they fall in love. Yeah, that really helps. That really helps narrow down 18th century literature. I'm just gonna move on there before I fall down a rabbit hole. We get into the spot where the vagrant just very blatantly profiles Teal, and that's really weird. But I kind of need them to do it, and it's also in character. I don't really love it. I write here, maybe there's a less overt way of doing that, but I need it to describe Teal without just straight up being like, oh, Teal is this, right? I need the vagrant to kind of be a boomer, right? Just sort of a judgy boomer, and kind of just say things like, oh, you're wearing a skirt, so I assumed you're a woman. Stuff like that. But an alternative here, Teal might feel pressured by this conversation, especially with the fact that she just straight up has to go, I don't think I actually remember anything about who I am. So that could lead to a situation where she's fumbling with her outfit. That could be a good way to describe it. Teal habitually plays with her hair. So that could be a good way to incorporate her locks into the description. There's also a note here that, yeah, Teal's probably just not sure why she's dressed the way she is. It's probably a little jarring at first that she's just wearing her vestments, because she is dressed way too formally for, especially when she runs into the vagrant, right? And that's another aspect of why I need to describe the vagrant a little bit better, because in contrast, once again, Teal's dressed really nice. She's way too formal, and when she sees the vagrant, she's thinking like, oh, this guy's kind of scruffy looking. Why am I not scruffy looking? Should I be scruffy looking? Am I? And immediately that conjures to mind, like, why am I not scruffy looking? Am I different? Am I better? Question mark. Obviously she's better, right? That's what she's thinking. But I can't just say that. Hashtag best half elf. I don't know. But yeah, we stumble our way along here, and we get to the introduction where the vagrant kind of tests Teal, oh, do you remember who you are? Here we are, down here. And I want that part to be way more awkward. Hey, well, spoilers, don't go mentioning the other half elf that doesn't come up until chapter 4. What the hey? You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that, chat. Right, so we get to this introduction, and I want it to be way more awkward. Maybe there's just even a silence. Maybe there's just a gap in the text where Teal just has no idea what to say to this guy, until her cogs start working, right? And her instinct says, okay, well, wait a minute, I've introduced myself before. How does this usually go? Like, I think I remember how to do this. And her initial reaction is to introduce her Elvish name, right? She would have an Elvish style name. Which, no spoilers now, but that will be included later. Because I think this bit kind of needs to happen, because Elvish culture and by extension, this is how it would have been done, I think, as far as my research goes. I'm pretty sure this is how those in Tang Dynasty China would have introduced themselves, is they would have given their surname first, right, obviously, and then they would have presented their style name for that point in their life. And Teal kind of halfway into that would realize how absurd that is. Like, oh, wait a minute, I already concluded that this person is not an elf, and speaking to them in Elvish is not proper, so I shouldn't give them my Elvish name, because they won't know what that means. So the fumbling through the process of her having to reverse engineer her introduction, which is something that in her everyday life, pre-amnesia, Teal would never think about, right? Teal would have grown up like knowing the difference between her Elvish name and her common names. So I want to include in the next draft a section where Teal just has to very awkwardly fumble through, oh wait, what's my name? Oh, it's this. Wait a minute. No. Wait. No, that's my given name actually. I'm not supposed to tell you that one. How do I translate that for you? And then bing, 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 she's just like, oh yeah, wait a minute. That's who I am. This is my name. Here it is. And maybe she says it backwards. Maybe she's like, oh, it's Evergarden Teal. Wait a minute. No, you would want that the other way around, because I don't think you're elvish. So just call me Teal, I guess. Baked bread. Yeah, everyone, Robin caught me. Teal's elvish name is Baked Bread, because that definitely translates to Teal Evergarden. Thank you. But yeah, Teal introduces herself. She would then, I think, ask her questions more diplomatically. In version 1 here, she's just very straight to the point, which I don't think is bad, but I don't think it's Teal. And that's another running theme here is, oh, I don't think that's Teal. I have written here that she would be almost painfully formal, even after this awkward exchange, especially after this awkward exchange where she doesn't introduce herself very well. She would be very anxious, very self-conscious, and if she wanted to ask this old fellow things, she would do so in a very I don't think saying puffed up manner is correct, but she would put on airs. She's very frazzled. She's given it all she's got, and given it all she's got means Teal is just skirting around every corner she can. So she's gonna ask the vagrant, she asks, oh, you stay here all day? That's a little weird. She wouldn't pose it like that. She would say something, she would probably compliment the situation. Oh, well, I can see why you do that. It's such a lovely locale, and you've got such a great spot here. But I have to wonder, if would it not be more appropriate to spend one's days upon a residence? Essentially, dude, where's your house? Do you live here on this log? That's kind of weird, but saying that in a way that doesn't say that at all. Saying that in a way that gets the information she needs, while being, diplomatic and tactful. She's very tactless here, which isn't Teal. So there's some foreshadowing things here. They talk about the forest, they talk about the river, they talk about how the vagrant tried to do some things and got a little lost. I think, once again, that's a little too on the nose, even for the vagrant. I think they would kind of struggle putting into words what happened. And they don't exactly say, right? They don't exactly say, oh yeah, I got lost. It's more like, oh, I got turned around and I ended up back at the shore somehow. Which is weird. Yeah, just more subtlety here, lighter language. Like I said earlier, it's a little too staccato even through here. They talk about the saint, very briefly. And going forward, I want the vagrant to mention how the saint possesses this otherworldly beauty, how they seem to radiate, how they're dressed in these very resplendent garbs. In character, they would poke fun at the fact that, oh, they went into the forest and tried to find their way out, tried to find their way away from the river, but they just came back disheveled. That's very vagrant to be kind of, enjoy the schadenfreude. But essentially, I want them to describe the saint as being somewhat elfish in Teal's mind. And then that gives Teal a really good reason, internally, maybe not externally, maybe not in the text, but internally for Teal. She's like, oh, okay, what you're describing to me sounds exactly like an elf. I am I am dead set. I got to go meet this person. If they're an elf, maybe they'll be able to help me. Like, that's a person of my culture group who would know what to do. And that's much better motivation for Teal wanting to go away from this situation and to find the saint. Because the saint is really, chapter 4 is really the catalyst for the rest of the book. And if Teal, like right now, Teal's just kind of like, oh boy, yippee, something to do. But if she actually has a reason to want to go away and find the saint and talk to them and put up with them, then it makes so much more sense. So the saint should kind of, in the abstract, be presented as an elf. Yeah, I noticed we had another little flicker there. Sorry, chat. We out here dropping frames. What up? Let's see here. Robin asks if, because the saint is dressed so nicely, would Teal ever compare her outfit to theirs? That's a good question. I guess it depends on how the vagrant describes it. And I don't think the vagrant would probably just say like, oh yeah, they were wearing a lot of layered robes of, decadent color. And, this woman had all sorts of makeup on. And Teal would kind of rack her brain thinking about it and go, okay, wait a minute, that sounds a little familiar. That sounds like things I'm more accustomed to seeing. And if anything, it would kind of put Teal in a situation of like, why do I remember this, but I'm not dressed like that? Like, what's going on here? So that's an interesting point. Something that would need to be addressed were this situation to be presented in a future draft. But we come to sort of their departure here, right? Teal goes, okay, we have this very open-ended hook here where the vagrant goes, why don't you go talk to them? And Teal just goes, yeah, sure, okay. Which is funny, which is just a little funny, how badly I wrote this section, like how poorly the hook is. The hook at this point in the book is just, hey, isn't it weird that this character has amnesia? Aren't they a little funny? Don't you want to follow them? And then, the actual hook doesn't come in until probably chapter 7, chapter 8, when Teal is actually talking to people who have a reason to kind of be characters. Deadass wrote this like a D&D campaign. Gosh, I wonder why. So Teal kind of offers to, hey, do you want to come with me? And that's just out of left field. There's a bit of a preamble to it where she's kind of nervous. She says, I realize this is somewhat brash. So even she's admitting that it's too sudden. And like, I don't think it's out of character, but it's just not motivated very well. She should have a moment of introspection where she's really thinking, this old dude looks really lonely here. I think from what they've just told me, I don't think they actually want to sit on this log for the rest of their life. It sounds like they're just a little defeated. And she also selfishly thinks, maybe it's going to be like, this sounds like it might be really lonely. I don't actually know where I'm going. Teal is, a very extroverted person. She doesn't actually like to be alone. She probably, because she thinks too dang much. She's always in her head just thinking about dumb things. And she likes to circumvent that by chit-chatting. By pulling thoughts out of other people that she can think about instead of the ones that are in her mind. but yeah, she needs a little more. I don't think her asking is out of character. I think she just needs to be motivated a little better, and to motivate her better, she would need to just consider the future a little bit. She's reflecting on the prospects of what's about to come, and because of that, she thinks, okay, maybe I'll just ask this old guy if they want to come with me, because they seem a little lonely, and I wouldn't mind chatting with somebody, and I also wouldn't mind chatting with somebody who clearly knows this area better than I do. Um, yeah. Uh, what else here? We get towards the end of the chapter. I keep thinking about how I'm gonna have to edit this all after, and I just had a pause there, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to cut that out. That's gonna suck. How much can I cut out here? Do I want to cut this out? I don't know. Am I talking too much? Um, so I should stop doing that, but I can't, because much like Teal, the brain won't shut up. I have brain won't shut up disease. We're getting to the end of chapter 2, though, and it ends very airily, which I don't like. There's some fun world building here where Teal is just wandering. Um, she's oddly crestfallen. Uh, that's what I'm trying to say. So it needs to be refined here. It's just too airy. And what should happen is that Teal kind of is dwelling on these emotions, like, oh, why do I feel bad? Why do I feel like there's something twisting up inside of my chest? Why do I feel like I'm, for lack of a better word, she's depressed, right? Teal's developing this depression. She's like, oh, I'm kind of sad because I don't remember. And at this point in the book, she just doesn't, like, she walls that off immediately, um, by taking in her surroundings. So, I don't think her observing the world around her is bad. I just think it needs to be, once again, motivated a little better. She goes from like, oh, I feel weird. Maybe I shouldn't have just given in. Like, maybe I shouldn't have just let that old guy tell me to leave. And she walls that off. She just dams herself up and says, oh, I actually just don't want to think about this. I'm going to look at the pretty flowers here. And this is, speaking of on the clock, I've been talking for 40 minutes and we're only just getting to the end of chapter 2. So I got to pick up the pace. We got to speed run this shit. We gotta, we gotta go faster. We gotta go faster. We come to a bigger point here at the end of the chapter where I need to reevaluate Teal's relationship with her amnesia. And I have here a little flow chart, which this is a big note for me. I don't know if this will make sense for readers, but I want to develop her amnesia throughout the book. And I get to it later on when I know what I'm writing about, but I don't build up to it very well. Teal at this point in this book, like I was just talking about, she's largely ignorant. She's ambivalent. She's just like, oh, amnesia, this maybe isn't great, but I don't know how to deal with it, and I'm kind of feeling a little strange, and I'm not somewhere I know. So I'm just gonna keep walking and putting up with my current situation until it improves, because it will improve, because I'm Teal Evergarden and things always go my way. That's definitely not what she thinks, but she's just kind of going with the flow. But as things progress, I want her attitude towards her amnesia to grow, in a sense, to develop, to change, right? Because so she goes from largely ignoring it to she begins to doubt her memories and also kind of what's going on around her current reality. She starts thinking like, okay, this is weird. Why are my memories so different? Why is this place so funny? Why are the people here weird? Why am I weird? Why don't I remember things? She experiences doubt that transitions into frustration, where she's just actively upset. She's mad. Why can't I remember things? Why can't I remember faces? Why do I know I've lived this life, but I don't remember where it is or what happened? Why do I remember magic and that I think I could do it, quote unquote, but I don't remember how? Why do I have a thingy for doing it and I remember it's for doing it, but I don't remember what to do with it? And as she accumulates these crumbs of her life, of her former life, and then juxtaposes it with her present, she really ends up just wallowing in this anguish of, I'm upset, I'm crestfallen, I'm really just sad about the fact that I can't remember my loved ones. Like, I know they're there, but I can't remember them. I can't remember the places I used to love being in, even though I know I was there, or vice versa. She might remember a spot, and how can I remember a spot without being there? But I don't remember actually going there. I don't remember what I did there, or things she's accomplished. I can't think of a good example off the top of my head there. But all of this, right, and like I'm saying, this is something I need to work into the narrative overall. But this would largely culminate in what happens later down the book, where she is at such a low point in agony, where she accepts the Wanderer's offer later on. Spoiler alert for like chapter 35, I think. If you haven't read chapter 35, sorry, spoiler alert. You're gonna forget it by the time you get there. That's like 300 pages from now. But that's why when she gets there, she accepts. She I feel even now when I'm thinking about that scene, the one in question, it really doesn't make sense. Why does she take the Wanderer's hand? And if this is implemented where there's a gradual build into Teal's kind of like welling uncertainty about her former life versus her present endeavors, that she'll do, some weird little creep in a cloak who spins around and has like 1,000 different voices preaching to you at once, offers you their hand and says, hey, I can let you see your memories again. Teal would, after some consideration, given how tired she is, just be like, yeah, man, I don't care. How can I be any more miserable than I am? And she does take the hand, and then, like the situation doesn't change after that. But it explains why she cracks, why she gives in to her more baser desires. She wants her memories back. She's eager for them back. But let's quick move on because we're dang near at the hour mark. And I didn't think I would yap this much, but yeah, let's move on to The Scoundrel, chapter 3, The Scoundrel. I think this one should be quicker, but let's just rapid fire, right? We have an alliteration right off the start. I don't know where it is, but it's near the start, and that's good. I use a lot of alliterations because they're fun to write, and they're fun to read, personally, I think. I don't know. I don't know if they are, but I like them. There is, let me think here. There is she has a memory here, right? She has a little imagination meal that she makes, and that's awesome. I don't think it's a great little meal. I don't think it's a great indication of what Teal would really desire from food at this moment in her life, but good characterization, and that can be used later. We can bring that back in the nightmare scene, and that's something I gotta make a mental note of, because that's good callback, honey. I love shit like that. There's a bit of foreshadowing here, which works into the point I was just talking about, where Teal is trying really hard not to think. And because she's not thinking, she travels very easily. It's also a good shorthand for not having to write the traversal. I just go like, oh, Teal stopped thinking and she just kind of walked, and then, oh, hey, she's here. Not that anybody wants to read about a half elf trudging along a trail, but it incorporates itself into the fact that she's kind of being ignorant right now. There's something I have here about the distance between the vagrant and the staircase to the temple being pretty far. And she's already, like, Teal's already tired by the time she arrives. I either need to accentuate this by describing the distance better, describing the traversal like we just talked about, with more allusions to what Teal sees or what she experiences, what she hears. Or I need to not do that and just cut out that it's vast. It isn't actually that far of a distance, but Teal still just rolls up and is whiny and tired and just sore and out of energy and ragged, to demonstrate that she's, a soft little baby. If her outfit didn't clue you off, that she's a pretentious little, private school baby, then here it is. She can't walk like a couple kilometers without needing to have a really big sit. One or the other. I gotta pick one, right? Do I want the distance from the river to the stairs to be big, or do I want Teal to be a big baby? And I'm leaning towards Teal's a big baby because that makes way more sense. And also, the distance between Teal's landmarks is supposed to almost grow like a quadratic equation, where she, like later on in the book, in my mind, right? In my mind, let's say the distance from her exiting the dark forest and getting to the Sage's Tower, that's supposed to be like a stupid distance. And then from the Sage's Tower until she gets to her destination, that's supposed to be an even stupider distance. But here at the start, okay, river to the shrine, that's whatever. Shrine to the city, okay, maybe a couple kilometers. City to the, the train station, Teal going through the city, Teal doing all of her gubbins. That's a different thing. So yeah, I think I'd kind of just talked myself into Teal's a big baby. Great, good job, go team. Lanterns. Teal gets to the staircase and she goes, oh, nice lanterns. I mentioned that they're lit, but how? I didn't think about it at the time, but upon rereading this, obviously they're full of moths, right? They're full of ember moths, and that just that works itself into later iterations, later down the book, where Teal has like a reconciliation with these ember moths, and that can be used again later to reinforce the idea of being a bug stuck in a cage. It's almost like it's a metaphor or something. If it is a metaphor, I wish somebody would explain it to me. But yeah, I just need to rewrite this and be like, yep, there's bugs. There are little flame moths up in those lanterns. That's why they're glowing. Teal should have a little look at that and say, oh, whoa, that's crazy. It's like my moth, but in a thing. I wonder how long they've been in there. There's a little lack of a description of the location here. The forest itself doesn't have much texture to it. The staircase is just kind of like, okay, it's big, it's old, but once again, I think it needs some taste, some development. There should be this worn down, this tired quality to even the entrance of the shrine here. I mentioned like, okay, they're worn. They're full of cracks. There's flowers growing in between the stone bricks of the stairs. I think I could just do a better job of describing how, oh, some of the lanterns are askew, some of them are covered in lichen, some of the steps, like patches of the steps, just are gone. They've been devoured by tree roots, covered by leaves, and what have you. The hill itself, right? Like nature naturally takes over things that are unmaintained, which is right here. Hello. Hello, Shrine. I hope you're doing well. Teal has a little pout on the staircase because she's tired. Very in character. I think we need to lean into that a little more. I think I want to present Teal as being pretty bratty at the start of this story. Because Teal is. Teal doesn't project that they're a brat, but Teal definitely does expect that her herself, given her lineage, given her intellect, quote unquote, given her training, given her skills, right? She kind of expects that she's not going to have to work super hard, especially because she's scrawny and pretty useless. Teal definitely just has this mentality of oh, I don't want to work hard. So, kind of like a bit of a spoiled princess mentality. And given how she's grown up, right, that checks out. She's just things have always been done for her. She's used to just getting into trouble or leaning on her magic to get things done when it works anyways. She should look upon these stairs and go, whoa, those are pretty, and then just immediately go, oh, wait a minute, I have to climb all those. That sucks. I don't want to. She probably maybe even considers, going back to the Vagrant and asking them hey, could I pay you? Could I trade you something? Maybe I can trade you the banjo to go up these stairs. She maybe considers, I'll just wait here for somebody else to come by to ask them, hey, can you carry me up these stairs? What can I get you to carry me up these stairs? She maybe even considers, okay, maybe I'll take one step now and then I'll sit back down, and then I'll take another step later and then I'll sit back down. Just anything to make this ordeal easy, even though it's just climbing stairs. I make a point here that she's definitely carrying a banjo, and banjos aren't light. I just totally forget. I just totally stop mentioning the banjo until she gets to the top of the stairs and moves it aside. But as far as its weight, right, she would be thinking why do I have to carry this shit? I don't want to carry me up these stairs. Why do I have to carry all this stuff up the stairs? So a misstep on my part. I should definitely need to mention the banjo. She kind of looks in at Lacrimosa to once again waste time. That could be moved into the part where she notices the moths in the lantern. I really never take a moment to describe Lacrimosa, so that would be the perfect time to actually do it. There's kind of a lackluster description in chapter 1, but aside from that, we never really know what Lacrimosa looks like, which is in part my fault because I'd never really cared. It's just kind of an afterthought. I was yeah, whatever, I'll figure it out. And this is me admitting I need to figure it out. What else do we have here? Teal has this moment of remembering magic exists, which it isn't completely unbelievable, but her train of thought has no station that it departs from. she really just looks at her dagger and is like, oh yeah, a wand. Yep, I know what this does. Uh, but I need to sew in something that explains how she gets from point A to point B. She really just jumps, like she just has like a little memory of magic, and then just tries it. Right? She just goes, oh yeah, my dagger. I know how magic works. I'm a magic person. I'm so smart. She really needs to have more of a development, and whether or not she even has this whole spell trying bit, that whole part could just be cut and just replaced with her thinking about magic and kind of thinking like, why do I remember this? Is magic real? That's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't know. I dwell on her dagger mostly because it's like an important item, and I feel like, okay, well, this is the first interaction. I have to describe it. She could do that later, right? Just mentioning she has a knife on her person right now is good. That's fine, especially if I do change this section. Oh, excuse me, that was one heck of a yawn. Oh, it's 4 p.m., that's why. 4 p.m. every day. That's sleepy hour. That's sleepy time. I'm telling you. 4 p.m., that's nap time. Mark my words. If you want a nap, it's got to be done at 4 p.m. There's this note here that I don't really make a mention of it, but Teal's desire, Teal's feeling, her intuition that magic is something she knows is mostly due to muscle memory. Teal has practiced these spells over and over and over and over and over again. They're lodged in a part of her mind that she just like cannot access, but her subconscious is firing on all cylinders. Like, yep, I know what this is because the body has done it so many times. So like doing this motion should make a reaction, stuff like that. I write here that this can be incorporated into her exasperated state when the spell doesn't work, because she's certain. She's like, no, I know I've done this so much. This is something that's etched in me from years of study. Why isn't it working? And she doubts herself, right? She doubts her memories, right? You see what we're doing here? We're reinforcing a narrative. Huh? We're using motifs and other words that authors like to use. I'm just gonna keep going. There's a poem here. Hi, poem. Hi, poem. How are you? You doing all right? It's canonically incorrect. Because this is one of the first real poems I wrote for the book. I wasn't concerned about style. You can even see I came in here with a note. So this poem just needs to be redone. Not that it's a bad poem. It's kind of, it's fine. The expression of it is probably going to stay the same, but it does need to be reincorporated to a tanka. Teal should have this moment of laying here and thinking, wait a minute, why do I know how to do that? Why did that just fall out of me? And she might, the origins of her tutelage with poetry might come back to her. She might think like, oh, that was actually kind of fun. Is that why I remember did I do this in the past? Things to reconsider. Definitely needs to be redone though. And I think it needs to be redone because I call back to this poem later on in a different chapter. So those two, if I'm going to keep that connection, they need to be antitheticals. I think they are. I think they end up like mirroring one another. So they should be of the same form, right? That's how that should work. There's a bit here where Teal is recollecting pictures, which I don't think is bad, right? We're at this point where Teal's trying to remember things. I need to do a better job of describing how hazy they are. Much like, the scenery around her is currently obscured by mist. And she once again is kind of doubting herself, like, oh, were these real scenes? Am I maybe just making this up so that I feel good about my amnesia? Am I actually remembering things? Because I'm not really sure right now. I write here, would there even be mist on a hilltop? And honestly, I don't know, but that's research for another time. I was always under the impression that hills were kind of too tall for mist and fog, but I guess if the fog is not that low, I don't know. I'm not a meteorologist. Teal sees someone in the distance, right? She rises up the stairs. She has a little poem moment. She looks throughout this complex and she spies someone. And Teal, immediately being nosy, super on brand. Teal spying somebody from across the way and going, you're alone? I'm gonna be a little creep. I'm gonna try to find out what you're doing. Super on brand. Teal is just the nosiest individual. Has zero chill when it comes to trying to get in on somebody else's business, which I love. That's one of my favorite traits about Teal. But there should be a little more doubt in her introduction. She's kind of, she already had one interaction that didn't go super well. So she at this point is kind of like, I don't know what to do. How should I approach this? Are there different customs here? She's starting to second guess herself. Regardless of how it goes down, Teal's assumptions about this individual, this kneeling individual that we learn is the scoundrel, tell us a lot about what she assumes about people, and what she assumes about people indirectly informs us of Teal's character, right? Teal approaches a kneeling bald man and kind of just assumes, they're probably just like a monk, I guess. Right? Teal doesn't have any sort of sense until it hits her over the face that this person's trying to pray and is maybe even mourning. It doesn't really hit Teal that, maybe this is somebody I shouldn't be bothering. And whether or not we chalk that up to Teal or Teal's amnesia, regardless, right? At this point in the story, I think both are, both are avenues of exploration. But yeah, I need to reconsider how she approaches the scoundrel here, because it's just she's a little too peppy, and that's not really on brand. Teal being nosy, on brand. Teal being peppy, that can wax and wane as need be, especially depending on who she's approaching, who she's talking to. The scoundrel here is a little nasty. They say some mean things to Teal, right? They call her a wench. They call her a tramp. But I think, honestly, they would be really just mean. Their vocabulary would be very crude. I don't even want to repeat some of the things they might call Teal, but their current language, how they speak, how the scoundrel speaks, is way too highbrow. And it's not even that highbrow, but like the fact that they use words like wench, the fact they say shut it, be gone, I'm praying for forgiveness. I think they would be a lot more terse. They would be a lot more, they would use nasty language, gritty language. Because that would emphasize them being, um, kind of a grimy individual. We're talking about a brigand. We're talking about a bandit here. Somebody who inadvertently admits to probably having murdered people. Um, and they, not that they can't talk like this, but I think at the time of writing, I wasn't so concerned with characterization. I was trying to create like a holistic speech pattern. But looking back at this now, I like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that this low life would be calling Teal a wench. So something to fix in draft 2. Teal wants information out of this person, right? They start talking. Teal is confused, like, oh, wait a minute, why are you here? I thought this was the saints. I thought this is where I was going to find the saint, and clearly that's not you. That should be something explained here. Teal needs some information out of this person, right? They like, clearly they're where the saint should be, but where is the saint? So Teal wants to find out. That should be explained better. Teal's motivation here needs to be addressed. It's there, but it's not really conveyed. So even just a line of Teal thinking what I just said. Teal thinks, hey, wait a minute, I'm looking for the saint, and this dude's not the saint. Maybe they know. 3 sentences. Easy. Yeah, this next bit is mostly what I've already said. She comes off as too peppy, too cloyingly nosy. She should be presenting herself, especially after her first little foible here, as diplomatic. She falls back on her old formalities of, okay, well, we're just conversing now, and frankly, you're kind of putting me out a little bit. I don't like you. I don't think I like this guy. You're kind of mean. The more we talk, the less I like you. So she fades back into her habits of, okay, well, I'm just gonna try to be nice and try to be diplomatic and try to get what I need out of you. Which she does by essentially being a little annoying and saying, sure, I'll leave if you tell me what I want to know. Which, that part, honestly, very Teal. The scoundrel needs to present themselves a little better. They don't really say why. They don't really say why they're a bandit, why they were a brigand, why they did what they did. They don't really have good past motivation, so that should be something that should be reincorporated into their little spiel here. I don't think Teal would come out and be like, "Oh, hi, you killed people? You ever killed a person?" Teal would skirt around the issue and wouldn't necessarily press at it. And I on that note, I think the scoundrel's explanation of their past life is a little too light. I think it's good that they're kind of reluctant. They are presenting that they're trying to repent, but still, like I just said, this is a person who is murdered, who has stolen, who has done outright awful things, and they've come to a point where they realize in their life, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but to accentuate that they are a flawed being, they need to kind of sound like they liked doing it, or at least that the outcome of it was good, oh wow, yeah, like I stole so much stuff from stupid nobles. We drank the finest wine that we stole from the most stuck up rich terrible people. And maybe in their eyes, maybe they thought they were kind of taking from people who didn't deserve what they had. Just a thought. But the way they present their past is kind of too light. Yeah. And so I basically just put here that if they are gruff, right, which they are, if they are this scoundrel I'm saying they're supposed to be, they wouldn't shy away from describing some of the things they've done. They wouldn't just be like, oh yeah, maybe I guess I've probably killed, like they sort of do. They would straight up explain to Teal, like, oh yeah, I've cut fingers off of people for information. Like I've slit people's throats to threaten the other living members of their, party. Shot arrows into people just to make a point. Stuff like that. They wouldn't shy away from telling this young girl gruesome things, especially if it gets them to piss off, right? Especially if this annoying tramp, quote unquote, is bothering you. Yeah, you might try to make them squeamish, try to freak them out, try to get them to leave, right? There's this reversal where the scoundrel is just like, yep, I had somebody I loved. It's strange. And it's not in the fact that it's presented, nor the pacing. It just, if it comes out of nowhere, which it does. It absolutely does. Like it doesn't sit improperly. It just, like, I don't know. It just comes out of nowhere, right? And so I think building into that, where maybe there's a moment where the scoundrel's a little reluctant. They're kind of thinking like, they explain, oh, I had second thoughts about my life. I started to think maybe I was doing the wrong thing, blah, 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 because I fell in love with somebody. And, maybe they talked about starting a family, like running away from all of this nonsense and starting a family. And for the first time in the scoundrel's life, they felt like there was something worth living for that didn't mean they had to just go out of their way and, kill and steal and pillage. Something to consider, but yeah, the whole like, oh, I had a lover, just feels trite, very hackneyed, which it definitely is. It is. They're just like, okay, yep, that's what happened. I was in love and then they died and now I feel bad. That's not good character writing. Their conversation really just ends where like they piss Teal off and Teal's just like, well, I guess I'll leave. Teal would probably hang around a little bit and kind of like, especially in this section here, where the scoundrel is explaining, I'm atoning for my past sins through prayer. And Teal would find that kind of weird. She would pester the scoundrel about the ends, like, okay, well, how does that work? What's the process here? Who are you praying to? What are you praying for? To which the scoundrel would probably not really have any good answers for her, which would frustrate them. And that would then lead into them trying to shoo her off. And probably quite rudely, because they'd be pissed off. There's a good point that the scoundrel insults Teal's femininity by pointing out her looks, that she's a tomboy, right? Any pointy tomboy. And not that calling somebody a tomboy is really an insult, not in this day and age, but oh, sorry, I've just looked at chat. Robin is asking that Robin brings up a point that the scoundrel doesn't really sound remorseful, or that they resent their past life. And in a sense, right? In a sense, they really don't. But more so what I was trying to say, that this whole bit about their lover and then the lover getting killed in cold blood is just too thin. The whole thing, right? The whole thing about them like, oh yes, now I'm remorseful about my previous life, needs to be incorporated into the killing of their lover. Like, oh, I fell in love, and then I started thinking maybe this life I'm living right now isn't so great, and maybe they were trying to get out of it. Maybe that's why the lover was killed. Maybe they, maybe their former bandit group was just like, oh, okay, well, if you're gonna leave our gang, we're gonna kill your family, because you're a piece of, because we're all pieces of crap, and you've betrayed us, right? You betrayed the gang. That could be something. But to return to the point, right, the scoundrel insults Teal, and that's good, right? That's a great way to get her to leave. And it also characterizes Teal by injecting her with a fragility, that a fragility that is balancing on how vain she is, and that's wonderful. So I think if like I definitely want to keep this bit in here, but make it more pointed, where the scoundrel is just straight up like, oh, like straight up, you're ugly. It's a wonder I even like if you didn't have that skirt on, I'd never think you were a girl. You freckle faced. I don't know. You freckle faced they them. And yeah, it also kind of, on that note, it injects some gender grayness into Teal's behavior. Is she terribly hung up on her gender? I don't know. She definitely gets embarrassed by these comments, and maybe that's something she's kind of struggling with too. Teal getting mad and then continuing to be diplomatic, super wonderful way to exemplify that she's raised in a way that places one's dignity outward, above one's honor, right? She's been insulted, and she's like, whoa, that's really harsh, and also you're wrong, I'm pretty, but I'm gonna let that slide because I still need you to tell me where the saint is, right? She's favoring, like, she's willing to be insulted if it helps her outcome, and that kind of reinforces how she was raised, how she views conversation, how she sees diplomacy at large. So I kind of want to crank that up to 11. So she gets insulted. She's a little upset. Maybe she even tones that back a bit. Maybe she just kind of like tuts and like, I'll have you know that you're wrong. Haha. But anyways, tell me where the saint is so I can get out of here because you're kind of pissing me off, right? So that's kind of good, but also needs a bit of work. The last point I have here is that these last few sections have like a good pace to them, where Teal just says, pretty much just tell me what I want to know and I'll leave. She also kind of, reinforces that you're kind of a jerk. I'm going to go about my business. I don't think you're a really holy man. But she restrains herself, and she kind of just stands up and it's like, peace out. You're kind of mean, but I'm not going to say that out loud. So keeping these ideas going forward, this kind of light trill that finish, this little flourish here that finishes off the chapter, I think that's fine. The pace is really good and the core ideas are fine of this interaction here. But like the rest of the chapter, they just need to be reworked so that things, like I was just talking about, like Teal being diplomatic, but wanting the outcome that she wants, the scoundrel being kind of skunky and pretty sexist and just a big D-bag overall, those just need to intertwine into this last bit here where Teal gets told what she wants to hear and immediately is just goes, oh, okay, I've got what I wanted. Have a good day. Not, and leaves. Right. Teal leaving right at the end of the chapter is a perfect spot for this chapter to end. Mostly because that sets up chapter 4 really well. Chapter 4 is kind of a more important one. But we're not talking about chapter 4 this week because we already talked about chapters 2 and 3, and that took me a long time. That took us like an hour and a half, chat. What the hell? But we did it. We made it. Congrats, everyone. You listened to me yammer for a long time. We will transition here. Yeah, an hour and a half of blabbing. What do we do? What do we do next? Let me think. We will we'll meet back here. Same time, same place. We'll talk about chapter 4. Chapter 4 might be an episode in itself because it's a little long. And clearly talking about 2 chapters in one go took a long time. But that's okay, right? That's the 2 hours is meant for the stream, whether or not it incorporates yapping and drawing or just yapping, whatever, it's all good at the end of the day. But yeah, we'll meet back next week for chapter 4. From here, we'll transition into some drawing and a little Q&A time. So if anyone has any little questions about what we talked about or the book at large, now's your chance. Because I'm gonna, what am I gonna do? Well, you know what? I don't even have it open. Hold on a sec. We're gonna leave that open. We're gonna leave that open over there. Yeah, there we go. And I'm gonna open up, yeah, that thing, this thing, and I'm gonna click this one. Whip. Oh, hey. Bet you didn't expect this, did you? I'm over here now. I thought I'd move because I'm not in the way. I'm not in the way over here. It's just I got the bars behind me. Anyway, what'll it do? I'll turn that off, and I'll close these things. Whip. And yeah. Oh my gosh, here we are. We're inside. Oh my gosh, we're inside. Let me open a new canvas. Let me open a new canvas here. Wow, we got a new canvas. I love that. Good job, everyone. I'm not looking at chat right now because I'm getting set up. So hopefully I'm not missing anything important. But I'm gonna write some things. Uh-oh. I noticed something. I noticed a little mistake on my part. I gotta unplug my mouse. And plug in the tablet. Oh. Okay. I might have to restart Sci too. I might have to. I also might have to reconnect my monitor because I can't see it. Because I can't see it anymore. Uh-oh. My mouse pad isn't working either. Uh-oh. We're having a mutiny over here. We have a total computer mutiny. Oh yeah. All right. Are we dead? We're not dead. I'm not dead, anyways. Well, I am sitting in the void, but I'm not dead. I don't think the stream is dead either, which is pretty funny. We didn't die, did? Yeah. So hello, chat. Well, I'm glad that decided to happen after I stopped talking. I can cut this out from the stream VOD, thankfully. So that's cool. But I think my CPU just needed to have a little shit fit. Just have a little tantrum. Uh, because wow, something about unplugging my mouse. Whew, didn't like that. Let's try this again. Let's try this again. Okay, that's the sound of my tablet. Yeah, I talk too much. I overworked my CPU. Sorry, chat. I hate that I know there's like one person in chat, maybe two, but I have to refer to it as chat. I have to refer to chat as chat. Okay, honestly, so far so good. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Uh-huh. And there's an onion. Yep, there's an onion. Awesome. Okay, well this is working. Um, we're gonna just pretend that 5 minutes of my computer dying, pretend that never happened. Um, did I turn down the sensitivity for your model? Sometimes it wouldn't pick up, per se. That's probably just you noticing it. Um, Sometimes it doesn't do that. But also, actually, now that I think about it, I did change it very slightly to be a little more picky about when I talk. So that's just how it is. Um, I don't know. I could change it back. I thought it was doing it a little too much, but yeah. Maybe the stream will run a little later today. Maybe we'll run until 5:30 because I talk too much. But I'm going to do what I did last time, and I'm going to mute for a second, and I'm going to stretch and take a little sip. And if y'all have any more questions, I'm here to answer them. I might put on some music. I didn't get. I just muted in the middle of me talking, which is pretty funny. I was gonna say I didn't get blacklisted for any of the music I had on last week. YouTube got a little mad at me for some of the songs that thought it heard, but I cut those parts out anyway, so it's no big deal. I'll play a little music. I'll play it quieter this week. But yeah, I'm gonna have a little break here. I am parched. So I'm going to have a sip. I'm going to have a stretch. I'm going to put on a record. And then we're going to have fun. We're going to have a good time. All right. All right, chat. What's going on? Um, the album is very quiet, but I hear it's still picking up a little bit. I'm not going to worry about that. What I'm going to worry about is me doing this because I'm ready to draw. Check this out. Boop. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Look, I'm drawing. I'm drawing here. Oh yeah, I mean, you've probably seen there's like a tablet here, but yeah. Now I'm holding the pen. Yeah. Yeah, I got a little pen. This model's pretty wiggly. I might tone it down a little bit, but yeah, looks like I'm just stabbing the tablet. Yeah, yeah, that's kind of fun. Oh shoot, there I put it. Hold on a sec. I poured myself a bit of tea, and then I left it across the room. I left my tea across the room. I kept it in a thermos this week. Oh man, me when I'm stippling. That's hopefully I never have to do that on stream, but sometimes I stipple, and wow, it's noisy. But yeah, we'll draw for a little bit. I don't know how long. Like honestly, if we run until 5:30, that's fine. I'm probably just going to be sitting here drawing anyway. So we'll see. We'll see. We're just here for the vibes, and if the vibe is, excuse me, choking on my tea over here. If the vibe is wrong, then we won't do it. Then we die. We perish. Yeah, so I've got some reference here. I don't know if I'll use it. I haven't done any warm-ups today, so hold on. Hold on while I draw circles. Listen to the auditory euphoria of drawing some circles. I thought about just working on something else today. I've got a few works in progress I could pluck away at, but unfortunately, they're probably all a little scary for YouTube. Those are more of Picardo work in progresses. Why would you sneer at an onion? Onions are innocent. Onions have done nothing wrong ever. That's why you cry when you cut them, because they're so innocent. And it's your pain. It's your comeuppance for defiling a purely innocent little creature. And so it is written, and so it shall be. Luckily, yeah. Do some squiggles. So what are we doing? What are we doing today? I also have this little expression page. I think I mentioned that last time. Got a little page of expressions we could try out. I don't really love a lot of them. A lot of them are from Nimona. They're from a Nimona character sheet. And they're kind of fun. I thought it'd be something different to try. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have like a big pose. I did pick out one, but it's not very good. It's not very tealy. Um, so maybe let's dip our feet in the water here. Oh man. Oh, I'm a mess. I'm a mess. Sorry, chat. I'm a I'm such a mess. I actually slept very poorly last night. Um, so don't at me. Don't at me about the sleepies. What's a good expression here? Some of them they're just like the way Nimona was characterized. Um, they're just so squishy. Everyone in that movie is just so squishy. They all got some real squish to them. And I'm dumb. I'm dumb as hell, so I can't squish things. But we'll just draw some teals and we'll see what we can do. Like I was saying, I've got some other works in progress, but I don't want to scare YouTube with, human, animal, creature, people hybrids. Because I know how the internet hates human, animal, creature hybrids. Kimono, Mimi, Neko, Nyanyas. It's a good thing no one's watching this, man. I just say some dumb shit, don't I? What the hell? I ain't funny. Funny looking. So what do we do here? This one's like a real squinty frown. It's not really a frown. It's more like a heh, I gotcha. Sort of like a, oh, you do like Krabby Patties, don't you, Squidward? Sort of look. But like a little more devilish. God, Biscotti would like cat treats, wouldn't he? Yeah, I told you it's devilish. That was a little too big. See, the thing too with referencing the Mona is it's a very simple design. The character design, from what I've seen, I don't know if this is the reference production, because I think it was based off a book or something. Don't quote me on that. But the character designs themselves are very cartoony, very simplistic compared to the 3D renderings. So, where I'm over here trying to think like, okay, how does Teal's jaw connect to the neck? You know, my reference image is like, it's just like this, stupid. It's just like a ball on a thing. It's just like a ball on a thing, and then the moon is like, you know. So translating that, that's kind of tricky. Oops. Just a little too long, I think. I think what I've got on right now is the Rolling Stones. They've got like a country kind of twangy thing going on right now. I don't know the title of the album. I didn't look. I just put it on. I mean, it's not up to you to be a repository for music. Something ain't right about this face, but I think it's too high. Like this section's too high. Teal's nose usually sits at the bottom of her eyes. I kind of flub that. Oh well. Not meant to be perfect. We're kind of just vibing here. Yeah, that's something I always kind of struggle with. Is Teal's supposed to have this pointy chin, but she's also supposed to have the round face. So, like, I can either just cheese it and say, haha, anime. Like, just, yep, she got a pointy chin. Or I can actually try to give her a chin like this. But then she just kind of looks like some sort of ancestor of the Holy Roman Empire. You know, out here looking like a... What are they called? The Strasbourgs? The Salzburgs? The burgers? It's got Berg in it, right? I forget. Burger. Delicious burger. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was foretold. It was foretold by me. The burger. The burger. Hmm? Took a little tea break. A little tea break. Another thing with this reference is a lot of them are in profile. So I'm gonna have a lot of teals in profile here. Something I very rarely do. I don't like drawing in profile. Well, some of them are some fun 3/4. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do. Might just use some as like inspiration, you know, not so much reference. Whenever I draw in profile, I just think of that one Gorillaz album. What's another fun one? There's the one right beside this one. It's kind of like a... We were talking about teal being nosy. It's kind of a nosy teal sort of thing. It's kind of cocked back a little bit. Tilted up. What? You don't like the Gorillaz album? You don't like Gorillaz hit album Demon Days? That's it's good. That's a good one. It's a classic, honestly. You know, Dare's on there. Kids Don't Stand a Chance. El Mañana, that one's on there. La Mañana, is it? It's La Mañana, right? Yeah. Gorilla. 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 Oh no! I killed all of it. I killed everything. I killed me too. That's a fun gag. That's always a fun gag when I just accidentally delete everything. It's got to be one of my favorite bits. The Habsburgs, that's it. Not the Strasbourgs. It's the Habsburgs. I was close with hamburger. I was working away at it. You know what? Now that I'm looking at this, I've got this all wrong. It's more like a forward facing. You're kind of like leaning into it. Like, oh. Like, I guess maybe more like a kind of like a poggers. It was one time. Teal's allowed to pog. Uh-oh. Hey everyone. Robin's not here. Post your most salacious and um, uncouth memes. Yeah, this is kind of tricky. How would I translate this? Sorry about the sniffles. I don't know where these came from. It's allergy season, so sniffles just always around. They're just permanently present. Yeah, good job, everyone. You did not post your most salacious and hideous memes, and Robin approves. Really struggling to draw Teal's ears recently. Really struggling to draw Teal in general recently, but it's something I'll figure out in the long run, I guess. Teal is a more than just a collection of triangles. She is a multifaceted being. She's more of a prism. She's like a pyramid, all right? Don't leave out her depth. Is it a PSA to chat? Don't forget to stretch before you draw, because my wrist just cramped. And I'm going to use this as an excuse to get up and flip my record. If you heard my distant panic, it's because I screwed up moving the record arm, because I'm dumb. Anyways, I hate this one. I hate it. I'm killing it. I got by Psy. Thank you, Psy. There. Gone. Gone. Fine just isn't good enough. When you're as good as me, you expect the best. So here's a little drawing anecdote. While I ruminate on how terribly this looks already. Well, that's all right. We're just here for fun. We're just here for practice. Anyways, here's a little anecdote. I was out cycling this morning. It's much nicer out this morning. It was sunny. It's a little windy, but it's since... Well, maybe it's not clouded over. It's getting a little cloudy. Anyways, it was nice and clear. It was a great morning for a bike. So I'm out there. I'm cycling. And I noticed there's a big box full of trash on the side of the road. And I live in the middle of nowhere, so I find that a little strange. So I don't think about it, and I go to my usual pit stop, and I take a little break. But on my way home, on my return route, I stopped by this box to check it out, and wouldn't you know, it's just trash. It's a pile of trash, and that's really disheartening. Because litter is really just the product of sloth, and it's wretched. Moral of the story, don't litter. Don't litter. Just don't litter. It's so easy to put your trash in a garbage. I know a lot of places sell like trash tickets, right? You got to pay for your garbage. That sucks. Just do it, right? Just put your stuff in a dump. Like, honestly, it's so much better for your garbage to go into a dump than it is for it to fill ditches and like destroy ecology at large. But I digress. Here's a big pile of litter on the side of the road, and it's mostly plastics, but there's like kid stuff in there too. There was like a stuffed bear and some diapers, really nasty. And I'm trying to go through it. I'm trying to consolidate it. Long story short here is that I came back later with a car, and I picked it up and we threw it out. Because that's just pretty nasty. You shouldn't leave garbage in the ditch. It shouldn't be as much garbage, and like a lot of it was recyclable too, right? There was like a lot of plastic containers in there, and like, come on, just recycle where you can. Don't litter. Just throw your garbage out. Don't be cheap. You know, it's not only offensive to the community, but just the earth in general. You know, nobody wants litter, and depositing your trash in a facility that we have collectively agreed is where the trash should go. It's easy, it's communal, and it's just better. You know, it's just better. Your trash is going to get sorted. Maybe it will find a higher purpose. It'll degrade better. You know, if there's any compostables, they will degrade in a dump. And if nothing else, they will get incinerated rather than just rotting in a ditch and becoming microplastics. But anyways, I cleaned it up, which was cool. It wasn't cool. I hated it. I shouldn't have to do that, right? That's another thing. Like, why are you making your garbage someone else's problem? That's messed up. And you might say, hey, you don't have to go out there and clean it. And like, yeah, I do. Literally, that is everyone else's job at that point. If you find litter, it's your duty as a citizen of Earth to just like pick it up and throw it out. There's an argument to be made that the litter just shouldn't be there in the first place. Like, we should be using biodegradable everything in our lives, but that's neither here nor there, right? Litter is just bad. Case in point. Shouldn't be there. Garbage should not be out and about. That's why they should lock me up. But But anyways, I cleaned this stuff up. But what really got me thinking about it is there was clearly signs that part of this garbage was somebody's thrown out. Somebody had thrown out some child, some like lost. I imagine it was some child because there were, there was like a stuffed bear, like I was saying. There was clearly somebody who had gone through like toys and had thrown things out, but there were a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards in there. And a lot of them were stuck together. This garbage had been out for a few days, so they had like fused together and got wet. And there was a ton of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and it looked like they had at one point been quite loved because there were some really rare cards. Not that I know Yu-Gi-Oh really well, but I could see there was like classic trading card game identifications, like, there was symbols in the corner, and there was the labeling for like first edition, and there were the markers for rare card, legendary, yada yada. And there were a lot of holographics in there, and I was just looking at them like, damn, who did this? Like, this is just, there's a story here that's sad. Like, somebody just had all their special cards trashed, and like some long lost teddy bear. It's just, I don't know, it was heartbreaking. Like, somebody clearly treasured these cards. There were so many first editions in there. But unfortunately, like, they were all at this point past, like, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll keep them, but they were just past the point of being collectible. They were just garbage, unfortunately. So that's something. Shout out to all the Yu-Gi-Oh fans in chat. Go put your cards in binders, and then stash them away in your attic forever. What do we got here? I'm kind of just I'm beating around the bush on this expression because it's not a very tealy expression. I mean, it is. It's a very sour expression. The thing I'm learning with these sheets is there's a very like line. There's a very significant line of action to all the expressions in Nimona. Especially the brows. Like, the brows always follow some kind of central flowing line, which is kind of fun. That's a very like old style animation way of approaching the brows. They would be one line, and then the brows themselves would be kind of split up. Not my go-to, but I can see the appeal. There's no sense of consistency with Nimona's eyes here either, so it's proving difficult to translate to teal because my style is very cookie cutter. It's not cookie cutter, I'm just bad. So I don't do things like this where I consider the eyes as like a shape, In my mind, like, a character's eyes are their eyes. And to deviate from that really takes away from the characterization. Not that I'm trying to defend my bad art, but just offering a reason as to why I'm bad. Like, for example, the reference I'm using for this one, Nimona's close eye here is little more than a slit. Like, she's just glaring. Which, she's like, shooting some side eye here. And she's got this real, like, sour face. Like, oh, this dickhead. Mm. But already, right? Like, you know, these aren't tealy eyes, right? So then I gotta think, okay, how would? Because teal's got big ol' peepers, so they might squish it a little, and her cheeks would bunch up. Something a little more like that, maybe. Even this, like, devoid from the face feels wrong. Yeah, like this just doesn't look teal like. I guess maybe that's, you know, an argument in favor of just considering the eyes as a holistic thing rather than being of a character. You know, like they still work. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just kind of spouting nonsense here. Sometimes I like to pretend like I was educated in this field, but Lord knows my sorry ass dropped out. So if you're gonna take art advice from somebody, don't take mine, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I am not in the industry for a reason. That meme of the artist posting something and then somebody comes over and says, "Hey, nice style," and they shove a straw in it and slurp it all up, and then the artist dries up too and they die. Click, 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 tap, tap, tap. Yeah, sorry, can't do anything about it. Just add this to your ambience. The sound of somebody drawing. Also, they've got a really loud rock album on in the background. Let's see. What's another good one? Like I said, a lot of them are in profile. Uh, there's like some. Hmm. God, looking at these just throws me back. Did that pick up? Did that dog barking just pick up? I swear to God, my dog barks at the stupidest shit. That's pretty funny. I guarantee you, actually, if I had to guess, I bet my neighbor just pulled into their driveway or something, innocent like that, and my dog just threw a shit fit. Um, Dang, it's almost 5:30. I have drawn absolutely nothing. It's been like an hour. I think my album just ended, and I've basically drawn nothing today. Um, you get Teal looking devilish and Teal being kind of jaded. Um, the, they're both kind of bad. Honestly, I don't like either of them. Um, maybe I'll keep them to post. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just put them in the trash. It's my art. I get to decide what goes in the trash. Thank you. And that's most of it. Most of it goes in the trash because I hate it. I can see off to the side that chat is moving a mile a minute, and they're probably Robin there saying, well, no, you don't get to decide. I do. Humph. And I'm just going to ignore them. I'm just going to ignore them, and I'm going to move on with my life. And I'm going to just put some details on these. Give Teal some buttons. A little fold here and there. And do a little stretch. Do a little groan. When you get to be my age, you just make noises when you stretch because it makes you stretch better. But yeah, I better. I don't. There's not a point in me starting something else here. Oh, yep, my mouse isn't on, is it? Gotta do that this way. Gotta use the mouse pad to try to center these. There we go. Yeah, whenever I blink, I make the sound of shattering glass. Anyway, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be it. We had a bit of a longer stream here. I didn't really get a lot done on the drawing side, but that's okay. I didn't get a lot done last week either. I'm a slow drawer. If you haven't learned, I draw very slowly. Mostly because I'm pretentious and I'm insistent that I build up my forms rather than just skipping steps. We talked about chapters 2 and 3. We talked a lot. My apologies. I thought both of them would take under an hour. I was worried there would be not enough content this week. But next week we'll chat about chapter 4. We'll what else will we do? We'll chat about chapter 4, and we'll probably do some more drawing, and we'll probably hang out again. We'll do this all again, except with chapter 4. Same time next week, next Tuesday, 3 p.m. As far as I know, if there is a change to that schedule, it will be reflected and publicly posted. But yeah, we'll see each other next Tuesday. We'll talk about chapter 4, and we'll see how that goes. Because chapter 4 is a bit of a doozy. It's not a doozy at all. It's just like the longest chapter of part 1, and it's where the traction of most of the plot kind of starts. So I guess it's important. I guess it's kind of an important chapter. But we'll figure that out next week. We'll dive into that. for now, everyone, thank you for coming. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you are not bored to tears, and have a good week. I'll see you next time. And I will awkwardly waste time until I can come over here and hit the end stream button. I'm definitely not stalling. I'm not stalling. Where is that? Okay, there it is. Ha 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 ha. Bye everyone. See ya. Bye.